Lars with the consulting team from Parsons Brinkerhoff. As James mentioned, he talked about some of the key factors in locating a ferry landing. Why would you put it in Hallett's Cove? What are the advantages? And we've heard about the transportation advantages in the history of ferries in this area. What I want to talk about is just try and give you a sense of what is it that this looks like? What are the key design elements? What would it be like to be next to this? And show you where we're looking at connecting it to the Esplanade adjoining NYCHA in Hallett's Cove. So the key features of this design that you see on the top is really a common theme that runs through all of the East River Ferry design systems. And there's a reason for that. The idea of the whole East River Ferry system is that it can accommodate a certain set of vessel types. And these vessel types can either be what are called bow loaders that load from the front, from the nose of the vessel, or side loaders that load from the side, or in the case of emergencies, if there needs to be an evacuation type of event where you need to move large numbers of people. You could even berth a vessel as large as something like the Staten Island Ferry. That would only be for emergency purposes. But the whole idea of this design for the entire East River system is that it's interchangeable and we can provide service between any of our locations with a standard set of vessels. The key features of this design, it all centers on something called a floating pier. And a floating pier is basically a 35 by 90 box that floats up and down in the water with the tide, and it's anchored in place by those what are called spud piles. Those are those taller piers. They're driven into the stable ground in the water, and there are collars that guide the floating pier up and down so that it can go up and down with the tides, but it stays anchored at the same place in the water. Then to get onto the boat itself, there's a gangway from the floating pier to the vessel, and then to get to land, there's another gangway that connects directly to land. One of the key features of this design is the idea that as many amenities as are necessary to operate the ferry system are actually located on the floating pier. So we'll have seating, we'll have ticketing, we'll have shelters. That makes it convenient for the users, but it also means that the amount of work and the change and any kind of design impact on the upland side, where the ferry landing actually connects to land, is very, very minimal. What we really, all we're looking at doing is connecting the pedestrian gangway from the floating pier to the land, and then securing the entrance with a security gate so that you can get in and down that gangway when the ferry is open for business. It's closed off, secured, and protected when it's not in operation. But really it functions just like a sidewalk that's connected to the Esplanade, adjacent to the NYCHA housing, with a security gate to make sure that you're not getting in at the wrong time. So a very simple design, very clean, and you can see that visually it's very low impact. Those piles, there's three or four of them, depending on the design, and they're not very tall things. So other than that, it's a very, very simple, kind of low visual impact footprint. Next. In designing and siting the ferry landing, we're also very mindful of what we've heard from the community, which is to be sensitive to the existing uses that are out there. The fishing uses primarily on the western end of the Esplanade, the existing and planned future kayak uses with the development of the new boathouse. We've looked at scenarios and designs that try to balance out each of these uses and ensure that the introduction of a ferry service will be compatible with the existing and planned uses in the neighborhood as well. And that includes other uses of the Esplanade, playground, fishing, and the likes. Next. So here's an illustration, a rendering of the concept design for the ferry. So you can see that box there is the 35 by 90 floating pier. The narrow gangway reaching to land is about 8.5 feet. It'll be at a slope that's compatible with Americans for Disabilities Act requirements of 1 in 12 slope, so it'll be easily accessible. And the idea is that we will probably be dealing with bow loading ferries, which are going to load from the front, from the nose, and we can bring two of those ferries in and berth them against the west face of the floating pier. That's nice because it keeps a good separation between the vessels coming in and any kind of kayaking that might be happening closer to the shore. And it's a simple, very flexible design that operationally would be very easy to operate with one or two boats at the same time. So one of the interesting things about Hallett's Cove is what's called the bathymetry, the water depths, and these are actually water soundings that were done for this project. The green is the shallow area, the blue and the purple is deeper areas, and there's a really interesting configuration where the deep water kind of curls in and comes very close to the shoreline, right in front of the esplanade there, and that's basically where the blue area has gotten closest to the shore is basically where we've chosen to locate the ferry. That means that there's plenty of water depth. It's very, very accessible. It's easy for vessels to get in and out and avoid the shallows. So it's safe, and it's also a very affordable kind of location. In terms of the other uses in Hallett's Cove, we've looked at providing a minimum 265-foot separation between the ferry landing and the location of the planned boathouse, so that we can provide for a safe separation of the uses, but also to make sure that that ferry landing is far enough east along the esplanade that we're not disturbing fishing activities which might occur on the western edges as well. This is an example of kind of the peaceful coexistence of passenger ferries and kayaks. This is from a special event at Governor's Island where they actually launched kayaks off of the ferry dock. So it is a situation where boaters who are aware of conditions and activities can coexist in the same waters. And what we've written into kind of the specifications for a vessel operator who would be calling and serving the ferry landing at Hallett's Point Cove would be basically a no-wake operation, no-wake activity on approach to make sure that there is minimum speed of the vessel, that there's minimum wake impact, and also the orientation of boats coming in to the ferry landing like this means that the wave is coming off the front of the boat, the bow of the boat, which is less impacting to other users. So all of those design features and the operational features are really designed to make sure that we can have coexistence of multiple uses in the water.
So just to jump in, we're also joined by some of our partners from city agencies that we're working with. If you want to just raise your hands if you have any questions for them. Parks who we're working with on maintenance of the esplanade. DOT, as we've mentioned, some of the routes. City planning on the economic development initiatives and the waterfront planning. And NYCHA on making this, utilizing it for the entire community. And so now we're going to be splitting into breakout sessions. Please come talk to us with any questions you may have on separate subjects. We'll be talking about community and transportation, the actual ferry landing design, and overall questions about the citywide ferry plan. I believe also we have some refreshments as well, so help yourself to some. And again, just wanted to give a special thanks to everyone who's been advising us and working with us along the way. Thank you all for your support. And thank you.